Hey everybody, welcome to Get to Know Your Wedding Pro. My name is Reed with Best Made Videos. We are a wedding videography company based out of West Seattle, Washington, and I am joined today by Matthew Pacheco of Pacheco's Weddings and Events. And this is someone that I've kind of seen and we've worked together, and I know I've seen you at events. So glad to get you in here. I think you have an interesting story, and I think you have a great company and a great idea. So I just want to say thank you for coming in. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
First of all, thank you. Thank you, Reed. Appreciate the opportunity. So my name is Matt Pacheco, born in White Center, raised in Federal Way. I'm the owner of Pacheco's Weddings and Events. We help with setup, cleanup, tear down, and special requests to Seattle and the surrounding area. And next month in October will be our 4-year anniversary. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
That's awesome. And so talk to me about like, how did this come about, or, why get into weddings, and why do, staffing and break up and tear down and all that?
Good question. So about 4.5 years ago, I started out as a car detailing company, and I had this strong desire in my heart to just do my own thing. And what I knew, or what I felt I knew at the time, was cleaning. So cleaning cars, cleaning houses. And, I started the company. It was actually originally called the Neighborhood Clean. I don't know if you remember that. It was called the Neighborhood Clean. And so, right away, it wasn't the norm in my family. The norm was to just get a job and, work your way up. So I had a little bit of pushback from my family, which was all good, but I just decided to, I wanted to follow my heart. And so with that being said, I would hustle and try to clean people's cars and clean the interior of people's cars. And in my mind at the time, there's so many car detailing companies, it's hard for me to compete or stand out. A lady from my church, shout out to Janice, asked if I could help clean up her friend's wedding. And so in my mind, I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. I got 2 friends at the time to help clean up, and we had to haul a bunch of stuff to the uncle's house or something like that. And at the end of the day, I had fun because I felt like an adventure. I got to meet new people. I got to do physical activity, and I got to work alongside, good people. And with that being said, I Googled if there was a wedding cleanup company, if there was any wedding cleanup or teardown company in Seattle. There was none. And so in my mind at the time, I was like, let me do this and pick it as my niche. So I believe it was a God thing. I couldn't think of that. I wouldn't have thought about that. And then that's when I started. That was the path to Pacheco's Weddings and Events.
And it's been good.
Oh yeah, it's been good.
So coming up on 4 years, and in the kind of the questionnaire I had sent out before the podcast, you said up to 103 last year, not including this year. What did it just kind of come rolling, or how did that start? To go from just picking up at church ladies.
I know, right? Yeah. So in the beginning, Gary Vaynerchuk was a huge inspiration in my life at the origins of my company, and he would always talk about hustle, etc. In my mind, I received like a wedding and event packet with all the information to people in the industry 4 years ago. And the thought was to literally call everybody in that book and tell them about Pacheco's Weddings and Events. This is what we do. And so, I called mainly wedding planners and wedding vendors and people who had wedding venues. And so that's kind of how it grew. And I would email like crazy to people, say, hey, this is Matt. We help with this. Let us know how we could help you. And so with that being said, it kind of built from that. And just by making mistakes, I would learn a lot. I would learn a lot on how to perfect the company. So yeah, I don't even know how I got to where I got, to be honest with you. I'm really thankful, really thankful. I'm really thankful for my company and how much value we bring to just our clients. Yeah, it's not something that I would have imagined starting out. In my mind, I just thought we go to a wedding, we clean it up, we make some money. Right now, it's like it's grown so much. So
how busy are you guys? Like how many different events are you doing now, or do you go out, or do you kind of manage, or how does that kind of work?
good question. So last year we had 103 events total. And last year was the first year where I've kind of managed the company and hired employees through an accountant and all that fun stuff. But before the first 2.5 years, I would do it with other people, not necessarily employees, but yeah. So now everything's structured right now. We have an accountant and we have payroll systems and everything like that. So
I think it's awesome. I mean, I think that, a lot of people, want to start a business or want to do this or have an idea. And I mean, it's always about hustle, right? And it's about, it's always hustle, no matter if you've been doing that for 1 year or 10 years or 20 years, like I always thought, at some point, like I'll just be able to, I don't know, like not, but this afternoon I got to go, you're always doing something to try to do it. And I think
exactly.
But I think it's great. I think it's a good story. And I think it kind of encapsulate what, a lot of people are trying to do for whatever, whether you're a DJ or you're trying to start a, soccer, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, how do you stay motivated to do that? Or, did you have any setbacks early on or has it just kind of been,
Yeah, I had setbacks, my friend. I had setbacks. So many. A few setbacks. I think one of the first earliest stages of my company is I had a huge project that I wanted to do. It was called Project El Baño. My mindset was we clean everybody's bathroom inside, in Federal Way. And my goal was to clean the bathrooms and get money off of that and, take turns doing it a couple days. And so I went in Federal Way. I would hang flyers up, hang posters a week before. And the day of, I only got one customer. And in the beginning, I'm thankful that happened because it helped me to learn to face rejection, even though you put your heart into something. And so that was one of the big things. And I believe it helped me become emotionally stronger because of it. There were so many setbacks. There's so many, one time we had a bartender who was working under the table kind of break my car, he broke the rear window of my car. And he was a little bit tipsy. And there was just, there's so much, but I learned to perfect these little ins and outs of my company on what to say, on proper etiquette. I guess to answer your second question about what keeps me motivated. I guess in the beginning, what kept me motivated was I believe looking at growing up. I was born in a middle class family where everything was just all right. Everything was just all right. And so I think one of the things that compelled me was to just break that average cycle. I really believe that I'm going to be a millionaire at 30 years old. And just that whole mindset, I'm really hungry to learn for. What keeps me motivated, I guess for me, is that this idea didn't come from me, and I'm honored to be a part of it because I believe it's God's idea that I'm in. So I don't know, just the value of my company, the clients that we serve, and the value that we bring.
So talk about, I was never someone that, I never dreamed of being like a wedding vendor or a wedding videographer. I was just doing like any sort of video, and,
Right.
I started doing like, magic shows, and then,
Oh, wow.
found, and so going from, someone that was, like doing car detailing or cleaning to like being at a wedding, like, what is that? Like, what was, I don't think you had ever thought that you were going to, wind up being every weekend at a wedding, or at, like these, like I walk into like these nice venues and you're like, what are we doing here? Like, do you ever think about that?
At the beginning, I gotta think of how to answer this, but yeah, in the beginning, I guess my mindset was, I don't know, I don't really, I mean, I think about it. I'm honored to be a part of these nice venues around, nice, elegant people. I don't know. What do you mean by that? What do you mean?
Oh, just like, I just not expected, like I did never expect
Oh,
it to
yeah.
like be like hanging the dress and like worried about like fluffing, or like you
Yeah.
guys have to like the attention to detail and stuff. Like I just never thought like that was where my life was going to be. And,
Yeah,
like,
me neither, to be honest with you. I didn't think it was going to be in that realm either. Like I said, I didn't think about this idea in working with significantly a lot of women, predominantly. I learned so much, and yeah, I don't know. It's cool.
So how do you now, you just told me earlier you started, where you were calling people and, like you had a book of like names or whatever. And now obviously like, social media and Facebook and stuff. I mean, how do you guys, attract new clients and grow, and how does that work?
In the beginning, I would just call every vendor who I felt was significant. I would even call people who didn't do the same things, like bakeries, people who sold wedding gowns, and just other small companies, and even big companies as well. In the beginning, talking to big companies was a little bit of a challenge, just because of my mindset back then, like kind of who am I sort of thing. So right now, I've gotten to a point where people are reaching out to me consistently, to where I don't really do the outbound sales, and it's just coming to me. And we're dealing with big companies now like REI, Amazon, I think Microsoft, and then J.Crew. So those, yeah. So I'm learning in this season about sales. So there's an interesting mindset to that, which I'm hungry to learn for, and I want to learn.
What are you learning now?
So I'm learning about, in the beginning, in my mindset, I felt like I gotta sell myself cheap. We give discounts. We'll throw in this deal, and you make money, but it's like in the grand scheme of things, there has to be a value, I believe, that you have to have in your mindset in order to grow. And so, like, I remember at the beginning of the year, there was this magazine company, a huge magazine company, who wanted to exchange services, to put my business in their magazine in exchange for services, and I would be losing out on a lot of profit. And so there was just a negotiation hazard that went wrong. And at the end of it, I learned that with big companies, there has to be a different mindset than with just smaller companies. There's just a different mindset I believe you have to have. So yeah. And I'm just learning about sales. There's a mindset to it. So
And just valuing your time and
valuing your company. Because if you think your company's worthless, you're going to just charge everything cheap. Like, hey, we'll give you this deal. We'll do it for this much, instead of, this is what we do. We take care of all the stress of your tearing down so that you don't have to, your family doesn't have to do it at the end of the night. And everybody just had fun. Everybody's maybe kind of tipsy and they don't really want to think about working. That's where we come in with a fresh crew to help you tear down. Of course, we do a whole bunch of other stuff, but I mean, we bring value. We really do.
Yeah, talk about, and I don't know if we, kind of outlined, because I think of you as kind of a jack of all trades. I see a lot of, stuff online that you guys can be applicable for, that you might be right for. So what do you see kind of, what are your main focuses, and what do you guys try to spend your time focusing on performing? What tasks?
Good question. I guess what we mainly focus is setting up of the event, and cleanup predominantly, and bussing tables, serving food, kind of the staffing of the wedding, then the day of the wedding. So those are our three main categories, because that's the number one people reach out for, is tear down the services. So I remember I tried to be a day of coordinator like twice. First time it was fun. Second time I did it, because I wanted to make extra money. And the day of coordinator, the second time, it was kind of chaotic. And so I've decided, I was like, I just want to stick with my niche, So, yeah.
And so you guys, get a lot of, I assume like venues and planners and things, reach out to you guys and say like, hey, we need to set up all this stuff, or is it more the clients reaching out? Or
the number one clientele is wedding planners. That's the number one, because they usually have to tear down at the end of the night, and in many cases they don't want to do that, and so that's when they call us, and then we give them the rates, and we help them out. So yeah,
talk about being part of that. I think for a lot of people getting married, wedding is one of the top 3, 4, 5 days of their life, maybe like a birth of a child, things like that. But, talk about like kind of being a part of that. Like, do you find value in that, of being a part of that day? Or is it more just like, do you find value in that?
Yes, I do I find great value in being a part of the weddings that I attend. Because I think about my future wife in a way, and it touches my heart many times when I go to the weddings, and just the love between the man and the woman, and just the thoughts and the love between the husband and the groom. I mean, the husband and the wife, and it just touches my heart every time. So yeah, I mean, it means a lot to be a part of the weddings that I attend. So yeah. And the family, what they have to say about the wife, what they have to say about just the family dynamic too, of coming together. So it's an honor. It's really an honor to be a part of the weddings.
Yeah, because you're probably working, when you're working long after, the bride and groom or whoever have gone, and, and you're with those, people helping to break down, it's like you're kind of wrapping up the day, but also, interacting with, various maybe family members and things. Talk about, you do a lot of like social media and stuff. I see you, promoting and stuff. Talk about like the importance you place in that, or what you kind of think in terms of like attracting business or marketing, or what do you think about that? Like Instagram and Facebook and things like that.
Facebook and Instagram, I believe, are super vital to a company. Like I said, when I first started out, Gary Vaynerchuk was a huge inspiration. So he would always push that, Instagram and all that jazz. So I would always take photos of all the weddings and events that I went to. So I believe that helped me create leverage, and I would there's a hashtag Seattle Wedding. So starting out, I would literally like all the photos in the Seattle wedding community. And if I liked a photo, I would say, hey, I would add a comment. I think it was PNW wedding, Seattle wedding, and all these hashtags relevant to the wedding industry. I would spend hours doing that in the beginning of my company. So I believe it's really important. I believe it's super important, but at the same time, in my mindset, I don't know everything, but in my mindset, you could have a great marketing, you could have great photos and everything, but I believe there's a sales dynamic as well that should be learned as the owner of a company. Because you can have, I don't know, I just believe you can have photos, nice photos, everything's looking nice, and you could still not scale your company, so to speak. So
how are you now doing that? How are you trying to scale bigger now?
I don't want to say that I'm trying to scale, so to speak. I believe it's naturally organically happening. Or I believe it's just organically happening. I can feel it rising, so to speak. I don't know if that makes sense, but
do you interact a lot with like other, business owners, or do you see like, when I look at you, I see like a lot of hustle, right? And someone that's really, like you say, going through like the hashtags and stuff. Do you interact a lot with like other business owners, and do you see that same hustle with other people, or is that something you take pride in, like your ability to, take this from the ground up, or what do you think about that?
Are you saying, am I connected with other people in the wedding industry, or?
Yeah, and what do you think? I just am trying to equate where I see a lot of people trying to start businesses, and I don't see necessarily everybody with the same hustle that I hear kind of in your voice.
Yeah, I try to learn from everybody, every person I work with in the wedding industry. I try to ask questions on people who I really respect in the wedding industry, and I try to just learn from everybody, especially people who have gone, who have successful companies in the wedding industry. So I don't know if that kind of answers your question.
Yeah, and I see a lot of like good ideas that don't work, or bad ideas that don't work. And here I see a good idea that did work. And so I'm trying to figure out like, how did you find success in that, in something, in filling that niche that other people that I don't see, or, that are struggling?
Sheesh.
And I mean, like I said, I think a lot of it comes down to like hard work and determination, but I'm just trying to like, if you could bottle that, or if you could like give that pill to somebody else, what would that be? Or what would what was the difference between you and somebody else?
I really couldn't tell you, man. I don't have a secret formula. That's the thing. I don't know. I would have to give credit to God. He gave this idea to me. Like I said before, I couldn't think of this. And there's no way I could have thought of this myself. So I believe it was a God thing, the way everything kind of lined up. So, I mean, sheesh, I don't know. I couldn't answer that. I don't believe I did it myself. So, yeah, I don't know. Because I know when I first started, there was like little setup companies that would try to pop up on the side, and that would kind of deter me. And I would get a little worried back then, like a year or 2 years ago. But what was advised was to just focus on my company and not really pay attention to the other companies that would try to spring up. So, yeah, I don't know.
Do you have people that you can talk to and to get ideas from? Talk about that. Where do you get advice from, and where do you?
Really good question. So I have a whole slew of people. Mainly from my church, my pastor, Tracy Armstrong. He's really good with business, and so he would advise me. He would give me some wisdom here and there. I have some good people, mentors a little bit. I have a business coach. So I have a few people who I could trust to talk about business. So
I wanted to talk about, because I do think that you guys, you see a lot of different aspects of a wedding that maybe, like the guests certainly don't see, right? You kind of see the more nitty gritty. And while keeping this, a PG-13 13 podcast. Do you have any fun stories or interesting stories or, odds and ends that you guys, I mean, I'm sure you have, seen?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's too much. There's so much, my friend. Yeah, especially, I mean, when you add the component of alcohol to an event or a wedding, I think many times there's always going to be that dynamic. I remember, like I said, I had one guy smash my car one time, and I guess that was an interesting moment. We had to wait for the cops to come for like an hour or something until the cops came and kind of did a report and all that fun stuff. And I mean, there was a time where we worked this event. It was a Halloween event. I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah, it was 2 years ago at Fremont Studios, and it was like a lot of people from WSU, and at the end of the night, we were doing coat check, like taking people's coats, and at the end of the night, this guest who was drunk, literally, whipped out his private in front of us, and so it was a little bit odd. I had to automatically, my reaction was to call security, in front of all my crew was there, and we were like, what in the world? And so that was kind of a funny moment. But I mean, there's a lot. So those are the two that stand out to me. So, yeah.
So I have your flyer in front of me here. I'm looking at, the tagline is "Your Party, Our Cleanup." I like that. I think that's cute. Where'd you come up with that?
I didn't come up with that myself. I would have to give a shout out to Sierra Hilarities. She also goes to my church, and she works at a company called Finney Bishop, I think, or something like that. So she's she's an expert at marketing. She was actually the one who made my flyer, and I didn't think of that myself. But yeah, that was her idea. Shout out to Sierra.
Do you see yourself transitioning more, continue the growth in weddings, or do you see like more the corporate clients and events and things like that? Where do you want your focus to be moving forward, or if it's a split?
Good question. I see myself more in the B2B, like the corporate world, like big companies, and I also see myself doing weddings and events inside mansions. One of my goals is to do an event inside Bill Gates' house in Medina, I believe. And so I really have a strong desire to just do an event inside his mansion just because. And so.
That's awesome. I have a funny tangent side note I'll share if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
When I was a kid, I went to school over in Bellevue, and we were in the Cub Scouts, and we had to do something to get a merit, or I don't know, whatever it's called. And you had to go visit a construction site. That was like the thing, one of the qualifications, you had to go visit a construction site. Mm-hmm. And so my mom and Jean or whoever was, they were like the co-moms. She said, well, why don't we, Bill Gates is building this house here, in Medina, kind of away. She said, well, why don't we should go tour, see if we can tour his house. And my mom was like, there is no way, like, ever that is the worst idea ever. And she goes, well, I'm going to call him. I'm going to figure it out. And so whatever the construction site was, the company that was kind of like handling the construction. So she called their front desk, not my mom, the other woman. And she said, hi. He goes, hi, who is this? What can I do for you? She said, oh, hi, I was calling to see if we could schedule a tour of Bill Gates' house. He says, you know how many people I have calling here? The New York Times wants to come in, and Washington, D.C.
Bill talking?
No, the construction company.
Wow.
we have all these people, people from all over the world want to come and tour this site. He goes, who are you? What company are you with? And she said, oh, I'm Jean. I'm the den mom of, troop, whatever troop we were. He goes, oh, I was a Boy Scout too. He's like, come on, I'll schedule one for you.
Oh, that's crazy.
And so it was just because we were like a Boy Scout, or I think we were Cub Scouts still, but it was under construction, built.
That's
Nobody was there. It was empty, but we got to go through and see that when it was under construction.
That's crazy.
It's just kind of funny. Cool. But my mom always tells that story that because we were a Boy Scout troop, or a Cub Scout troop, that we got to.
He could relate to you. That's good. That's tight. That's cool. Yeah.
And then the other, just to further delay this, our friends used to be members of the Overlake Golf and Country Club.
Okay.
And Bill and Melinda were members. I don't know if they still are, but they were members. And so we would always go with our friends that were members. And my mom was there with my brother, who's 7 years younger. So he was a baby.
Right.
And he's sitting there playing with the buckets in the water. And this woman sitting next to my mom, and she goes, oh, hi, could my daughter, play with your son's pool toys? And my mom said, oh, sure, no problem. It's Melinda Gates.
No way. That's
and so
crazy.
My mom comes home that night and she goes, richest woman in the world, and no pool toys at the pool.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's just funny.
That's really awesome.
But no, I mean, it sounds like you have, big goals and aspirations. I mean, where does that come from to keep kind of striving to come up with stuff?
Jeez. I don't know, man. Like I said, I don't really have a secret formula. Like, I have to give credit to God, for giving me this desire. I believe all the dreams that I have come from God, and the strength to just to push. That's the foundation. But I mean, we have one life to live, right? So it's like, might as well do something big, take risks and just think big, think big. So that's how I like to be remembered by, just big things, and of course helping people. So yeah.
Where were you? How did you find yourself into the car detailing, and what were you doing before that to make money?
I actually got fired from like 3 jobs in the past because I always had this mindset of doing my own thing, kind of thing, just to kind of do my own thing. So I got fired, and I got fired for kind of, I feel like being more independent, and it was, yeah. So I worked at this house cleaning company before. I also worked at Posable RV as a photographer kind of thing. Before that, I worked at Beecher's Handmade Cheese in the SeaTac Airport. I don't know if you heard of that.
What was that like?
It was good because they gave me my independence, which I appreciated a lot. So I was an inventory steward, so I had to make sure everything's clean and everything's restocked. And I was also the social media guy, a social media assistant for Beecher's Handmade Cheese under someone named Matt Longman. And that was kind of cool. I think that's kind of helped me with the whole social media thing, just to have that experiential knowledge. And so, yeah, those were all the jobs. And I got fired from the Beecher's Handmade Cheese. But I still love Beecher's Handmade Cheese. No, nothing bad to say with them. They're all amazing people. I got nothing bad to say. I got fired from Postable. Got nothing bad to say about them. And the Green, or almost at the company, but the cleaning company, they kind of let me go as well. So, but it all worked out, man. It all worked out. Yeah.
So through adversity.
Through adversity
comes success.
Tough times, right?
No, but I understand that. And I understand that, the independent mentality. I mean, that was one of the reasons that kind of, led me out of, news and what I was doing kind of into my own thing was, just always feeling like, maybe you could make better decisions on your own or do it on yourself. So one thing, I have, lightly made fun of you before about is your lack of website, but you do, because you do everything on social media, right? And
Right.
so my point is that it sounds to me like a lot of your business is driven from, social media, word of mouth, referrals, repeat business,
Right.
things like that. So talk about that and not having to spend money on like, I'm going to, spend $10,000 a year on a website or whatever,
Right.
but instead focusing on like building quality relationships with like planners and venues and things like that.
Good question. So when I first started my company, I believe the top strengths to have was a strong social media presence, Facebook, Instagram. Like my mindset was, I guess I never saw the value in having a website in the beginning. For the first, I still don't have a website, but I don't know. It just kind of always worked out for me. Right now, though, I do say there's a huge event coming up in October, and I am talking with someone who is going to be making my website, just a basic website, I guess. So, yeah.
It's coming.
It's coming.
But
stay tuned.
But do you
2019? No, I was kidding. No, it's coming.
But I think that is important to point out that in 2018 now into 2019 that you still can build a company on the back of referrals and word of mouth and things like that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's kind of corny, but I think anything is possible. But yeah, that was just my mindset. That's what I really believed in the beginning. It's like, I don't really need a website right now. And then, even the business cards, like at one point, I didn't think business cards were important. Business cards are important, but it's like, I'm 27 years old and everything's digital, everything's online. And personally, this might sound bad, but personally, when people give me business cards, if I don't really need it, I kind of toss them away, to be honest with you, because it's like, okay, I don't know. I just don't. In the beginning, I would accumulate a whole bunch of business cards, which would just get stacked. And it's like, yeah, I just throw them away unless I really need them. I know where they're at on the website and everything. I still have your card. It's in a plaque. No, I was kidding. I'm just kidding. No, but yeah.
But do you think you're pretty good in terms of like the digital and marketing that way?
I don't want to say I've reached a point. I know there's always so much to learn. I believe I have a solid presence in the social media community. But is there more to learn? Yeah, there's a whole bunch that I need to know, about branding, and there's so much that I could learn. So.
What, because specifically, I think, we've talked about your strengths, hardworking, determination, things like that. Where would you like to improve? Where would you like to grow? Where do you think that?
Yeah. Good question. So in the beginning of my company, my speech would be a little bit different. My speech would be different in the beginning. I would just say a lot of stuff to just, what I felt was funny to me. And so in the beginning, it would kind of rub people wrong a little bit. And so now I would say I've gotten a whole lot better about choosing the right words to say to people and just being wise with my words and considerate with my words instead of just spewing out a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, I would say that was a weakness that I believe is more solid today. So yeah, that's one. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses. That's one of them that stand out to me. So.
What do you wish that more people knew about you or your company or what you guys do? Because you had said, in the kind of the email I had sent to you, obviously we want, you want to come on and talk about your story and kind of what, get the word out. But what do you want more people to know about, Pacheco's weddings and events? We
help with setup, cleanup, teardown. We'll help clean up after your wedding. We got go-to guys, and we actually, many times I outsource my labor through a company called Praise Hallelujah, and they take people off the street and kind of take them through a step-by-step program to get them back on their feet again. People who are formerly maybe homeless or drug addicts or people off the street, and they take them through a program. And many times I outsource labor from this company, and I find in most cases those people work 10 times harder than people who are actually pay, employees. It's sort of a nonprofit. But that's one incentive that we do. Not to, it's one incentive that we do, and the money goes to the nonprofit, and they pay for their food, toiletries, everything to just house them. So that's one thing that I can throw out there.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
I guess in the beginning of the company, I don't even know how I stumbled. I don't even know how I found out about the company. I think it was through my church. But I don't know. I guess I could find out that I could hire the people, and pay them. And so the people don't get paid. The people that help me, they don't get paid. It's through the company. And so as of late, I've just been thinking of creative ideas on how to partner with this nonprofit organization. And I believe where the Pacheco's Weddings and Events is helping them kind of get experience and get back into and it's an honor for people who have been on the street to be in like a wedding venue or a nice home, helping out, serving food. It's really a blessing. It's really a blessing for them. And I like seeing that, personally. And, they're under personnel who have experience with that and who could kind of train them and facilitate them. So yeah, it's pretty good.
But I think that speaks to you. I don't know if everybody would do that, right? I think that speaks to you and kind of, giving people that chance and partnering with them. I think that, that to me is super interesting, right?
Yeah.
Giving these people that chance and,
right.
You don't have to do that. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you feel rewarded?
I guess, I don't know. It's a cool thing. It's a cool thing. Because I see the testimonies, after the end of the program, people getting married, people are more healthy. They're back on their feet. They're working at a job. I see the testimonies at the end of the program. So it does bring an honor. It brings a smile to my face to see that, and they're happy. They like working. A lot of times, I don't know what's in their mindset, but they like doing the work. So, yeah, it makes me happy. And that kind of came about organically too. It's like, yeah, that kind of came about organically too. So. And
you want to continue to grow that partnership? It sounds like.
Yes. So.
And to continue to give more people an opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like, I don't know. I think it's super interesting to like have somebody, like you said, that's like down on their luck and giving them an opportunity to work. Still like manual labor, but like nice, good manual labor, right? You could be out like doing a lot of worse things than, hanging out at the wedding, right?
I know, right? Exactly.
So where do you said you want to be, successful by 30. Where do you see the next 3 years taking you guys?
Partnering with huge businesses, year-long businesses, reoccurring business through big organizations. And I believe I've not even scratched the surface because I just recently had a pretty significant, huge deal with a big company, and I believe it's just going to leverage and take off from there. Having business year round, even in the off season. Right now, wedding planners, I believe, are the business is slowing down, and so they're thinking of different outlets. Like, I got to go back to this job, or I got to do this full time. But I believe Pacheco's will be year round. So.
It's tough, especially in Seattle where it's so seasonal. You know, I mean, it's you get 4 or 5 good months out of the year, if that. You know, and you really have to focus on a lot of corporate stuff. Are you guys building up for the winter now? A lot of like winter wedding, or not winter weddings, but like winter like parties and things like that.
Yes, sir. We are, like I said, I believe the summer is mainly focused on the weddings, but the rest of the season is focused on the corporate events. Yeah, corporate events. So we already got many lined up. So it's nothing but bright in the future. Nothing but brightness in the future.
When you're not hustling like me, what do you do in your free time?
Sheesh. I mean, my mindset, sometimes I feel like I just think business every day. You know what I mean? I mean, I hang out on Sundays. That's kind of my break day. I kind of chill out on that day. Go to church, hang out with my friends, and just kind of chill out, so to speak. But mainly, what I like to do for fun, I play racquetball. I go to the gym every weekday, LA Fitness. I like to play racquetball. I like to work out every day. That's kind of fun. I like to be active. I like to do a lot of active stuff, active things. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I play drums. I play piano. So far, the piano's been on pause. I've been playing at this Fremont Abbey. It's like open mic. So I have a few songs on YouTube.
No way.
Yeah, it's an open mic thing. So it's pretty cool.
Do you enjoy that creative?
Oh yeah, I love that. It's worship. It's mainly worship. I don't like playing songs just to throw out songs, but it's mainly worship songs now. And then I play drums, and yeah, I mean,
do you play for your church?
Yeah, play for my church. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
What got you into doing the music?
I mean, my father was a drummer growing up, and so I don't know how that kind of carried on. I think in junior high I started playing like percussion drum in the band class. So I know that kind of stuck with me because I believe your father has an influence on you. It could have an influence on you, and yeah, I mean. That kind of influenced me, and I kind of took it to a drum set, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've always been musically inclined. I'm really heavily into hip hop and metal, hardcore music sometimes, and of course worship music. But
I feel like we're just scratching the surface here now.
I know, right?
You have a musical background. Your father played.
Yeah.
Heavy metal.
No, my dad didn't play heavy metal.
But you like heavy metal.
I like hardcore music. Kind of like some bands off the top of my head. There's this band called For Today. There's a band called The Chariot. Norma Jean. There's probably a whole bunch, but yeah, I used to listen to a lot, like high school and onward. It's kind of always stuck with me. And I feel like it's good hustle music, like the hip hop and the hardcore. It's like, when you're doing emails and you're, doing all this, it's like, I feel like it helps you a little bit, Sometimes I feel like I need that to do emails, to just, yeah. So.
Yeah. Are you somebody that enjoys the management side of running the business, or do you like more being out and working?
I like the things that I dislike are doing the accounting. I don't do the accounting, but just the numbers, counting, adding the mileage, keeping track of, just all that stuff. I don't really particularly like that. One of my favorite parts is the social media. I really feel like I'm strong in that area. I enjoy doing it. One of the things that I've been challenged to do was the management side. Like you said, last year, it was the first year I had people, actual employees, and it was not my strong suit. I'm not comfortable with that, but I had to break out of that to grow in my company. Like I had to fire someone. I had to fire a few people. So that's not always the easiest thing to do for me, at least in the beginning. I had to communicate with a group of people. That's something that, I'm not comfortable with, that I had to learn how to be comfortable with. So, yeah, I mean, those are management side. I've learned to like it. I've learned to learned to like it. So.
Yeah, I just, 'cause, speaking with you here, it seems like you're a little reserved sometimes, and I would think that it would be challenging to lead a team and have your face and your name and everything kind of be in the forefront.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm selective. I wouldn't say I'm reserved. I'm selective who I open my life with. Who I talk with. I'm really selective with the people who I would like close to me. So I pick those people wisely, which I think everybody should. I don't just take everybody. So yeah, I'm really selective and wise with who I associate with. So.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about, the management, I think a lot goes into it that's not, like, I think people think like, oh, like breakdown, like, okay. But like you said, you've got to deal with like, time cards and like mileage and like employee, like I have like Jeff, right? Like my assistant, like I can manage Jeff, like it's easy, right? But like you, but you have to have a wider kind of viewpoint.
Yeah, man. Yeah, in the beginning, I don't know if this kind of answers your question, but in the beginning, I've had people like trying to penny pinch, like, hey, I worked 5 minutes over. I should get compensated for that. I worked this much, or I've worked this and this. They would try to penny pinch, right? So a lot of times the solution for that is to communicate and say, hey, you're starting at this time and you're ending at this time. The responsibility of the lead is to give the client a 15-minute heads up and say, hey, we're drawing near to the end time of the contract. Would you like us to go further, or would you like us to stop? And that's when they kind of, that's when they build on that regarding the hours. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, so does that answer your
question? It's dealing with a lot of different people and personalities.
Yeah, you're right, man.
Situations.
Sheesh, I've had a whole slew of personalities. But I find that sometimes when I find that sometimes in some cases I don't like a certain person's personality, but performance, they would excel to my standard, right? So sometimes I just got to put what I like aside and kind of let them do their thing, he or she do their thing. So, yeah.
Do you have a high standard?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
I believe I have a high standard in life right now, just with everything. Yeah, I don't know. I really think detailed in many cases. I have a detailed mind. I always try to go above and beyond of the norm. Yeah, I really want my leads to have that standard so they can communicate that vision to the workers, to the other helpers. So yeah, I remember when I first started, I would take I would offer people, say, hey, can I take photos of you guys? People that are trying to take selfies, I say, hey, would you like me to do that? I would just go above and beyond, just doing the norm. And that, I feel like, helps you to stand out, even as an employee or as a business owner. So.
It's a great answer. Well, this has been really fascinating, really interesting to talk to you. I feel like in terms of like hustle and, trajectory, I think I'm at 4.5 years, 5. But I mean, I feel like we're, not too far off in terms of like, timeline, learning things, right? Like kind of figuring out what we're good at and what we're not. It's been really interesting talking to you. I really appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
And hearing your story. And I do truly appreciate somebody that hustles and kind of understands the, like living the work like I feel like I do sometimes. If people want to learn more about you, your company, all the services you provide, like we said, setup, cleanup, bussers, parking attendants, servers, ticket check-in, what would you have them do? Where would you want them to check out?
253-334-5818. That's my cell phone. You could contact me directly. You could also check me on Facebook at Pacheco'sWeddingsandEvents.com. You can also check me out on Instagram, Pacheco's Weddings and Events, and yeah.
And I will say that, going, even before trying to schedule this interview, to interacting with you online, you're very, speedy and attentive. And if my experience is anything like your clients in terms of like getting a hold of you and working with things, I do feel like they're in good hands in terms of finding somebody that's going to be responsive.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. This has been another episode of Get to Know Your Wedding Pro. Check back next week for another wedding vendor interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you.